Uh, my, my presentation this morning is centered around data, cybersecurity, and of course, our SIS, fax student information system, more commonly known as RENWeb, as most people would refer to it. So to concretize my presentation, I came up with an acronym, RICE, and if we move along, as educators and leaders in the space, it's really important that we discuss, new technology, new developments in the space, and how we approach these things and continue the conversation. And we at Z, this is something we do annually, and we really look forward to continuing this tradition. COVID set us back a few years, but we do look forward to continuing this conversation. And today, we will discuss a few things to bring data and cybersecurity into context. So, my acronym, RICE, RICE, the R stands for respecting data. Okay? I, investing in the data, and C, capitalizing on the data, and E, expectations from your provider, which is us at Z. So, let's go through our acronyms real quick. R, respecting the data. Now, what does that mean? So, we first have to understand what data as schools you guys collect. So, let's say a small school, 500 students, to a larger school, 2,500. Every year, we collect demographic data, medical data, parents' data, their employment data, all this wealth of information that we are now storing in our SIS. And you can imagine school that has been with us for 20 years. Year after year, thousands of students, parents, all of that is stored in your SIS. And you can imagine if nefarious actors get access to that data, the implications there. So think about it. If somebody gets all of that demographic information, contact where the parents work, sensitive data, your report cards, communications to the students, all of these things that you have stored in your SIS, because we do push a digital strategy, you would have to appreciate what data you store. So once you appreciate the power of the data, we now know what we have to do. So we also push the communication of departments. So one of the things that we encourage schools to do is to keep the data accurate. Why is this? We've seen in many schools that the bursary may have different information from the administration, and we encourage all of the administration to have your central database, which is the SIS, keeping it accurate, ensuring that when one department accesses the SIS, the data is correct. So I need to contact a parent right away. I can pull up their record. I have their email address, their telephone numbers, all of those things. So the data is kept accurate. Now, once we're thinking about having all of this data, we have to consider that our staff members handles the data ethically. What does that mean? We have to protect the data by limiting the access. What do I mean by limiting the access? We have security groups, as we refer to them. So no one can access the data without permission. And if you have access to the data, you can only do what you're allowed to with it. So that is something that we also put forward, that you need to protect the data by limiting access. And we have seen several times schools, you may not have the human resources, so it's easier for you to, let everybody access it. No, we have to understand the Data Protection Act is coming into play, and we have to pay attention to how we limit the access to the data. And then once we understand that, the data is now going to be used for its intended purpose. So we don't have somebody pulling a record because you want to see something or you want to discuss something amongst yourselves. We have the responsible individuals accessing the data and using it for its intended purpose. And once we understand all of that, we know the roles, the rights, and of course, how we process the data under the Act. And as we progress through this conference today, we'll actually understand a little more about the Act, what it requires us to do, and how we should process and treat the data. So once we have now appreciated the power of the data, what it does, we can move on to our next acronym. Go ahead. Investing in the data. Now, what does that mean? All right, we have our SIS software, so we now know the power of the data, what it can do, what we need to do with it. So we encourage schools to utilize the SIS, even if you have it or you don't have it, utilize the SIS to now protect the data. How does that work? The SIS provides a robust infrastructure which allows you to now control your access, as we discussed before. It allows you to store all of this information that you need to run your school. And we encourage all of your information to be stored. Why? Because we'll see in our next image when we move on that the SIS is actually the base. So all of your information for your school is contained in the SIS, and that functions as the baseline for everything you need to access in your school. And the SIS is a cloud-based technology. So what does that mean? Anywhere you are, any device you have, as long as you have your internet connection, you can access it. And also investing in the data means that it comes with training, and that has to be consistent. So your staff members understanding what you need to do, understanding how you need to use the system, and as technology increases, we continuously train, continuously educate you, and tell you how to operate in the education space with your system administration. So that is what investing in the data stands for. All right, let's move on. As I said before, so you notice the base, which is your fax SIS, contains all your students, all your staff, all your families, your classes, your billing, your communication, everything you do as an administrative process is contained in the SIS. And you notice that little lock there? That lock means all of that is in a secured environment. So anything you do coming from your base, which is your database, of course, is in a secured environment. And that's why we speak about cybersecurity. So a lot of the manual processes that now exist, we should be looking to use your SIS, leverage the things that are in there to now ensure that you're keeping your data secure, ensure that you're keeping your processes secure, and ensure that your staff members are trained and really understand what it is to keep data secure. All right, move searching. Capitalizing on the data. Now, what do we mean? Now, we have the SIS. All of this information is in the system, so we're storing everything in there. What can we do? Capitalize on it. So, as a principal or a leader in the school, you can now extract insights and patterns from the data. What does that mean? So I can see how this teacher is performing, how the student is performing, how these group of classes are doing, and we can look at it in different ways. So once we're seeing patterns from the data, I was always trained that data informs your decisions. You shouldn't be making decisions without something to inform your decisions. So once you have the data, and especially years of it, extract those insights, extract those patterns, see what we need to do, see what we need to approach, and we use that to optimize your operations. Are we having failures in a particular class? Are we having deficiencies in a particular area? Use your decisions to inform your strategies. And once you do that, you're going to have an improved experience, because we have seen schools that actually extract this data, leverage it, and now they're able to address their issues. Because sometimes you may see something on the surface, but when you actually drill down into it, you now see, all right, this is what is happening, and this is what needs to be done. So due to that insight that you're now looking at, you will have layered access. So we proposed to schools that you should have a management team or a steering committee, if you may, for using the SIS. So this steering committee allows several persons at the school to know how to use the system instead of one. And that allows you to capitalize on the several features that the SIS has. And that's something that we look forward to doing more of in 2023. And this capitalization of the data allows us to create interesting products. We have several in the pipeline, and those about Q3, Q4 of 2023, we'll see those come on board. But you'll see more data-driven products using what we call an API. That's simply just a translator between two softwares to speak. So you can pull data from the SIS to a third-party software. So, you may have something to assist you with attendance. You may have something that you need information from the SIS. So it's already in your database. You just need to pull it to something else. You can see products like that. Online applications, which really assist you with the manual processes that several of you go through right now. Your students and your parents apply online, and all of that goes directly into the SIS, no paper-based things. And again, the payment system, as Jason would have spoken about earlier, that's something that we also are looking for the schools to capitalize on, especially in your CSEC and CAPE fees. We had a few schools that utilized it last year, and they saw a lot of efficiency from that. And of course, they will be recognized today. So online payments as well, these really help to streamline those operations, because you no longer have to wait on a parent to come back with a voucher to say that they've paid their fees. Once they've made their payments, whether online or at a LASCO financial outlet, that information is delivered to the SIS, so you can capture that anytime. And one of the conveniences for the LASCO financial is that parents can pay after hours, on the weekend. It's more convenient than going to a bank that restricts the time. You probably waste all day in there. With 140 locations island-wide, you now have choice, and you have flexibility to doing those things. And the online donations is something that we also want to start the conversation about. We know schools need resources, and you possibly, well, not possibly, but you do have your alumni that may want to support the school. So through our system, we want to introduce online donations. So, if you have projects at the school, or you just want to put out a feeler for your past students or even friends of the school to support you guys, we want to introduce an online donation to you. So that's something that further down in this quarter 3, 4 of this year, you'll see us talking more about. And just in the capitalization on the data, we want to talk about reduced cost. As you heard Sir Robinson mention earlier, we want to have a conversation of price versus value. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. So if I pay for something, I should be able to maximize the value from what I pay for. So with that conversation, using the SIS allows us to extract all of these features, all of these values that improve your efficiency, improve your service delivery, and of course, allow you guys to spend time doing the things that you need to do. Reduce this manual work, reduce this paperwork, focus on what needs to be done running your school. All right? So the last part of my acronym is the expectations of your providers. Now, many of you know reliable support is what we do. You can have a great system with bad support, it's not going to work. So reliable support is something that myself and my team, we do that every day. We push forward to ensure that you have service delivery that you can depend on, that you can rely on. And that is something that we hold our hats on. We're very proud of that. And we promise that we will continue to deliver that for you. And of course, improved cybersecurity. We constantly upgrade our systems, and in the conversation of cybersecurity, that's something that you will always, or can always, depend on, and you can be guaranteed that we at Z will deliver that to you. And we also will put a greater emphasis on the training of your staff. That is very important, so you guys understand what needs to be done. Your staff needs to understand, especially in the context of the Data Protection Act, you guys need to understand how we need to handle data and how you take care of that, all right? And in the SIS itself, data privacy is there by design. You can't miss that. Once you take the SIS, data privacy is a must. It is programmed in there. It is layered by access. It's layered by security. So you can be guaranteed that you will get data privacy once you use the system. And of course, any advancements in the tech space, you're guaranteed of that as well. As we develop the system, constantly upgrade, you can be sure that you will get all of those things layered and into your system, all right? So in wrapping up, we just want to speak about a few primary goals that you should bear in mind as we navigate this space of cybersecurity. As a school, you collect and store sensitive data. The student records, financial information, medical information, all the communications with the students and the parents. So cybersecurity has to be on the forefront of your thoughts to ensure that the data is protected from any unauthorized access or theft. And that is achieved using the SIS and following best practice. That's one of our primary goals. The next goal, educating your staff, continuous training. We pound the pavement trying to ensure that school staff, and even by extension, students and parents, they understand these natures. Now, I know many times it may be, boy, why we have to do this, why we have to do that. It may be annoying, but cybersecurity has to be maintained. We have to do certain things to prevent unintentional data breaches. So when we have to follow best practices, we do this because of cybersecurity. So that awareness is always brought up by training, by keeping the conversation going all the time, all right? So the last primary goal is just the continuity of the school. So having an SIS ensures that you always have a disaster recovery plan in the event that something happens at the school. So we've had schools, fires, different things happening, but their data is maintained. It is stored in the SIS, so you're always able to continue another day. And even in COVID, once you had the school shutdowns, you knew that you could react because you had an SIS, you still had your information at your fingertips, and you could still communicate with your parents. So the schools had a continuity plan that they could use to continue no matter what happens. And of course, we guarantee that through our service standards. So once you have an SIS at your school, you can be sure you'd have continuity all the time, all right? So just a quick recap of the discussion. R, we know how we respect data because we know what it is, we know the power of it. I, we invest in the data by using an SIS, using a system that allows us to handle the data with the respect it deserves. C, we capitalize on the data by what we can use the system to do, looking at the insights, using all of these different systems to allow you to be more efficient. And E, mostly on our part, the expectations of your provider, what you expect them to do, what kind of support you'll get, and what you can always be guaranteed through our service level agreements. So I hope you guys understood all of that. A nice presentation to just bring cybersecurity into context, understanding what it is, how we use the SIS, and how we move forward. Thank you.